This government knows that the wisest thing to do in these circumstances is to improve our reserve position, and that is to seek balance of payment support from multilateral institutions like the IMF.
Leadership is not only about decisions, it is also about timing, language, and what is left unsaid. In Ghana, one leader's words, spoken years apart, reveal how power reshapes economic truth. This story centers on John Dramani Mahama, a former president who lost power, spent years in opposition, and returned to office in January 2025. Few leaders understand both sides of power as deeply as he does.
3 years earlier, Mahama spoke as leader of the opposition. Ghana's foreign reserves were shrinking. Debt levels were rising. Commercial borrowing was becoming dangerous.
At that moment, he spoke without the burden of governing. Mahama defended IMF balance of payments support. He described it as cheaper, concessionary, and safer than high-interest commercial loans. He argued that refusing the IMF was not strength, but denial. At this stage, the IMF was an economic solution, not a political cost.
This government knows that the wisest thing to do in these circumstances is to improve our reserve position, and that is to seek balance of payment support from multilateral institutions like the IMF. Because this balance of payment support will come at concessionary rates and at very minimal cost that are certainly nowhere near the astronomical and prohibitive cost that is associated with this syndicated 1 billion loan. And with this, I'm referring to their criticism of my administration when we decided to go to the IMF. They said it's only lazy governments that go to the IMF. And I mean, the words they said in that past have come to haunt them. So one of the reasons why they're afraid to go to the IMF is that what they said in the past will follow them.
In January 2025, Mahama returned to office, not as a critic, but as president. Economic theory now carried political consequences. In a Bloomberg interview, Mahama was asked directly about IMF funding. This time, the word loan disappeared. Instead, he spoke of staff visits, technical assistance, reform trajectories, and fiscal discipline. He neither rejected the IMF nor openly embraced new funding.
We've had that discussion with the IMF, and the IMF have agreed to provide technical assistance for us to do that rationalization.
So engagements have already started. Have you talked potentially about the program ending in May of 2026 being extended or an additional program being added on?
We've not talked about an extension of the program. We are determined to continue with this program. I think that it means that we must be more prudent in our handling of our finances. We must also look on the expenditure side and see how we can cut waste and also shift resources to more priority programs. And so it's a whole basket that we're looking at. We're hoping to receive the aid memoir today or tomorrow, and looking at the issues that IMF raises, we'll incorporate them in the budget.
I see. And so you don't want any additional funds from the IMF? That is off the table?
Well, it's not off the table. I guess that it's a journey we just started. We've had a good discussion, and if it's necessary to look at additional funds or to extend the program, we'll look at it. But for now, we're determined to continue on this trajectory.
Mahama's position on the IMF did not change. What changed was responsibility. As president, every IMF sentence carried political risk. Public fatigue and rising living costs made honesty expensive. Behind the scenes, reforms continued. Debt restructuring advanced. Tax systems were reviewed. Spending discipline tightened. IMF programs do not reward speeches. They reward execution. Months later, the IMF released roughly $350 to $385 million to Ghana. Not as a surprise, not as a bailout, but as a scheduled outcome of reform progress. The funds strengthen reserves and calm markets. They provide short-term fiscal breathing space. But they also lock Ghana into continued oversight, reviews, and discipline. Stability is gained, sovereignty remains negotiated.
This is not just Ghana's story. Across Africa, leaders campaign in freedom but govern under constraint. The IMF rarely forces governments, it waits.
Mahama's journey is not about contradiction. It is about navigating economic reality. In opposition, leaders speak boldly. In power, they speak carefully. And between those two moments, truth learns how to whisper. Thank you for watching. This is War We Are Reclaiming. Don't forget to share and subscribe for more geopolitics.